What's up and welcome to another edition of Locked On NBA, the biggest stories with the local experts. I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, also host of Locked On Rockets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Today, we'll be chatting with Rylan Stiles from Locked On Thunder to discuss, are the OKC Thunder play-in tournament bound this season? Behind some incredible play from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, how has Josh Giddey evolved as a scorer, and what's been the most impressive thing about rookie Jaylen Williams? But first, today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Next game, how about Luka Doncic to score more than 26.5 points? What about LeBron James to have more than 7.5 rebounds? Or maybe Ja Morant to have less than 8.5 assists? Maybe Steph Curry to have more than 3.5 three-pointers made? What is Prize Picks? It's daily fantasy sports, but how does it work? Basically, you pick 2 to 6 players, and if they score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 25 times back on your money on any entry that you submit. There's no competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. Prize Picks offers projections on any sport that you watch. That includes NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, PGA, you name it, they've got you covered over at Prize Picks. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that simple. They're safe and offer incredibly fast withdrawals, currently operational in over 30 states and Canada. Download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code LOCKEDON. If you deposit $100, Prize Picks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, Prize Picks will give you $50. Don't forget to enter promo code LOCKEDON at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. Joining us now is the host of Locked On Thunder, Rylan Stiles. You can find wherever you listen to your podcasts or on YouTube. Just search Locked On Thunder. Rylan, the Thunder sitting at 23-24 on the season, 7-3 in their last 10 games behind some amazing play from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, including most recently a game winner against the Denver Nuggets. I mean, we got it. Are the Thunder play-in bound this season? What's going on in OKC right now? It feels like a distinct possibility right now.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we've all been waiting for that other shoe to drop this entire run that they've been on. It's been, this East Coast trip, it's going to get them. They play Miami, Philadelphia, Brooklyn, in Chicago on a back-to-back. That didn't trip them up. They went 3-1. Okay, the Pacers, it's a trap game, 2 games off, and then you lead into this Pacers game, then a tough West Coast swing. They might go 0-3. They go 2-1 and beat the Pacers in that trap game and beat now Denver after a heartbreaking loss to Sacramento. Whenever many people thought after that Sacramento loss, okay, they're coming back down to reality now. It was a fun ride, but you got that brutal, heartbreaking loss, and now they're just going to kind of roll over. They didn't, and you head back home now for 3 straight games. That's going to be tough. Again, Hawks, Warriors, Cavs. It's going to be tough to play them, but we keep on waiting for this hot streak to end, and it's not really ending because it's all pretty sustainable. Shai's a star. Josh Giddey has now been a really good scorer for the past 23 games. I mean, that's a pretty large sample size for such a young player. They are meshing together very well, and then you're getting contributions from a lot of other players like Jaylen Williams, like Lou Dort, and like, of course, rookie Jalen Williams out of Santa Clara.
Well, first off, I think there's a matchup with the Rockets a little bit further down the pipeline, so don't you worry. There will be a tune-up game in there for you guys a little bit further down the line. SGA has been fantastic this season. He's averaging a little over 30 points a night on 62% true shooting. I mean, what kind of stands out about the leap that he's taken this season to you, Rylan?
What stands out to me the most is, like, not to sound like a homer, but it's so hard to defend him. The only teams that's given him trouble is Miami with that zone, which he turned the ball over 11 times in 2 games. However, it's not as though every team can just implement a zone. You can try to run a zone. It's not going to be as good or as crisp as Miami unless you make that your identity. And so far, no other teams have done that besides Miami to that extent. They've given him trouble. Memphis has given him trouble every time that he plays Memphis because they have such a roster full of long, lengthy guys that they can just pack the paint. And right now, there's only Isaiah Joe as a shooter that can make you pay. So those 2 teams are the model to stop SGA. And those 2 teams are built a certain way that it's not as though these other 28, 27 teams can just join in on the way that they're defending Shai. Other than that, you can play textbook defense. You can even foul him. He's still going to make the shot. And it's just scoring at the mid-range and scoring at the rim that puts so much pressure on the defense. And right now, even this game against the Nuggets did a great job. They switched Gordon onto Shai, and Gordon did a really good job defending Shai, but he still hit tough buckets, including the game winner, to ice this game for OKC. And the question becomes, can the Nuggets do that next year whenever you would be leaving Chet Holmgren in the middle instead of leaving, say, Jaylen Williams in the middle? Like, is that repeatable in that formula to stop SGA? So it's what's most encouraging is how sustainable this all feels and how it feels like not only can he still get better just as an individual developing his game, but the team around him can make him better by giving him better shooters. Because whenever the Thunder do throw out the shooters that they do have on the roster, like Isaiah Joe, like trying to put Trey Mann out there, like Wiggins out there, it opens up so much for his game. Where you're going to add in a 40% three-point shooter in Chet Holmgren next year. You're going to add in, hopefully, a draft pick this year that can shoot, and it'll really give him space to flourish, and it's really helped his overall game. So the biggest encouragement is it's more than a hot streak at this point. It's been the whole season. And it's all sustainable that teams can't really take away from him.
Speaking of shooting at this point, I mean, Josh Giddey was, for all the talent that he had, right? The shooting was kind of a big question mark last season. He was shooting 26% from three. This year, he's up to 33%. 34% since the new year, right? Thunder hire renowned shooting coach Chip England. He comes in and he fixes up the shot. The shooting is one part, but how else have you seen Giddey kind of grow here in his sophomore campaign? I know you mentioned previously there just kind of how the two-man game is evolving, or how he and Shai are kind of able to play off of one another a bit more this year.
Yeah, for Josh Giddey, it's so impressive to see him shoot this well, because when you get down to it, he only had a few months to work with Chip England, because you can't really work on your shot in the middle of a season. He's admitted that. Mark's admitted that. You can't really just alter anything in season about your shot. Like in baseball, you can't tweak your swing in the middle of a season. And so it's been his shot selection that's led to his shooting percentage rising, as well as just naturally getting better and improving, obviously. But beyond that, he's become a legitimate scorer. And that's what's helped the Thunder kind of flip the switch, because in the first half of the year, they were still a spunky, fun team playing these close games. But whenever the fourth quarter began, after a great third quarter, whenever SJ played the whole frame, when the fourth quarter began, we all, okay, how do they survive without Shai on the floor for the next 5 minutes? Well, now they're not just trying to survive anymore. They're actually playing very well and thriving in the start of the fourth quarter, which then gives SJ the opportunity to come back to a 5-point lead, a 7-point lead, a 4-point lead, and then close out the game like the superstar that he is. And that all starts with Josh Giddey. He added a lot of strength over the offseason, which has now allowed him to realize, hey, I'm 6'8", I'm pretty strong. He goes to the basket hard now. He takes contact now. He uses his length to shield off defenders and get an open look at the rim. And he's able to be a scorer over these last 20 games that is someone the guys turn to say, hey, stop the bleeding for us. Go get a bucket. Like, it's your time to go get a bucket now. We can't do it. And he delivers more often than not, and it's led to a lot of success. And then him and Shai have found a lot of good chemistry together, which it was kind of unnatural last season. Now they fit more seamlessly, and a lot of that's just due to simply Josh Giddey becoming a scorer.
I want to ask you about Jalen Williams here, but first, you got to clear something up for me. Somebody told me this the other day, but I want the clarification here just so that everybody can understand moving forward. There's two Jalen Williams on the Thunder roster. What's the differentiator? One of them is like J-Dub and one is J-Will. Who is who? Break this down for us, Rylan.
Yeah, so whenever the Thunder drafted Jaylen Williams out of Santa Clara, it was funny that at J-Will's watch party, which is Jalen Williams, the big man, at his watch party, his whole family erupts in excitement. And he's going, no, this isn't me. This is a totally different guy. Then come to find out he does get drafted by the Thunder as well. But when they got here for the introductory press conference, we asked him, how are you gonna tell each other apart? And just naturally, Jalen Williams out of Santa Clara grew up with his friends calling him J-Dub. And then Jalen Williams out of Arkansas grew up with his friends calling him J-Will. And so that's been the way that they decide it. And it still does not clear up things for casual fans that don't follow this team. And also for Thunder fans who do follow this team. Like, there are people in my comments every single night that I know are watching the game every single night, and they still get confused on which one to call who and how to even spell Jalen Williams. As they mix the two names together, spell it Jaylen. It's still a complete mess, but at least they're both playing really well.
Well, and let's go to J-Dub then, Jay Williams from Santa Clara. Just what has impressed you about his rookie season to this point for the Thunder?
It's been his maturity to me that he kind of has such a high feel for the game as a rookie, which guys kind of sometimes get overwhelmed or get big eyes when they get on the NBA lights, and his ability to fit seamlessly into an NBA roster. Like, there are nights where, hey, we're playing the Spurs and there's no Shai and Giddey can't play all 48 minutes, obviously. At some point, J-Dub is the next man up, and he goes off for 25, 26, 28 points. That's been a case too. There's been nights where everyone's fully healthy and it's just not your night offensively, but he still finds a way to impact the game via being a switchable defender with his length, in his body, being able to get rebounds, being able to pass the ball as a playmaker, and being able to just cut effectively. Like, he just has such a feel for the game as a rookie that allows him to be a net positive despite being so young, which typically is not the case for rookies. I do think that narrative is a bit flawed, because rookies typically play for either really good teams and just don't play on the floor at all, or really bad teams and do play way too much and are exposed a bit. With OKC, whenever the whole team's young, everyone has to play. And so if you play good, you're going to be the net positive no matter your age, as the Thunder are the youngest team in the NBA and the second youngest team ever, ahead of only last year's Thunder team because they just simply had to get a year older. But for J-Dub, it's been feel for the game, scoring at all three levels. And his defense is improving night in and night out because he's realizing how to use his length in the passing lanes, how to switch down low and defend at the rim without fouling. He's been really good this year.
We talked a little bit about the possibility, right, of this Thunder team making the play-in this season and, kind of them taking a leap this year. And, it's kind of a lot of factors at play allowing them to do that. But Rylan, how do you weigh the benefits of a play-in spot or a playoff appearance, for a team as young as this Thunder team is versus the opportunity of bottoming out and, kind of resting some guys, whatever, tanking and acquiring another top pick, in the draft, this upcoming NBA draft?
Well, just as a blanket statement, it's a win-win for OKC no matter which way that they go. You can sell yourself on this being a fantastic year no matter which direction the second half of the table turns. From my perspective on OKC specifically, they're not going to be able to get down to even the fourth worst record, which they were last year. You're hoping you can get down to, if you do want to go down that taking route, you're hoping, okay, maybe they get to the sixth worst record. You're likely going to be 7 or 8. And so at that point, you'd rather just let this team play in games that matter. Like tonight against Denver, the crowd was rocking. It was a half-court atmosphere. You couldn't just get out and pace and space guys like you have been so far during this hot streak. You really had to play half-court basketball and let these young teams experience what it's like whenever the other team actually wants to win. You can no longer be saying, well, the other teams are overlooking them. No, they're taking the Thunder seriously. The Thunder are just good, and they're able to win these games sometimes whenever they get in these competitive environments. So for me, I value for the Thunder specifically more so than any other team, in general, because of their treasure trove of draft picks and because of that they're going to have Chet Holmgren coming back next year, and Chet is like the prize of this rebuild, and he has not played a minute yet. If you can play even just one game where you see how every player reacts to a playoff style, you see how Mark coaches in the postseason. If you can just play one play-in game, that would be enough. And if you get in, you have a team that you feel could at least get to that first round and do what Memphis did. And yeah, they might have lost in 5 games, but you played playoff basketball again, and you now head to the offseason where without any other moves, you're going to have Chet Holmgren, who was arguably the number 1 pick in last year's draft before Paolo leaped up there, and Paolo's been incredible as well. He was arguably on people's boards the first overall pick last year, ended up at number 2. And more importantly for the Thunder in this case, let's just say that the best case scenario is bottoming out to 6. If you lose in the play-in and you're at 12, as the Clippers did last year whenever they lost in the play-in and went to 12, and the Thunder, of course, had that pick to turn into J-Dub, you can trade from 12 to 8 or 12 to 7. You can get back where you wanted to be because you have 4 first-round picks in 2024 that you cannot possibly at all draft. You cannot bring in 4 new players next year. It is impossible because of how the roster is set up. So you can move from 12 to 6 or 12 to 7. So let this team play out however it does and see where you land in the draft and how that all pans out. And also, if the Clippers continue to slide and they're in the play-in and you knock them out of the play-in, you have a pick swap with the Clippers if they landed in the lottery. So you can get their pick as well, depending on how this all goes. So there's just so many reasons to try to win and not enough reasons to not try to win because of how hot they've been. And because of the fact you cannot win Victor or Scoot. And past that, it's a jumbled mess between who each team might, prefer in these 3 through 6 spots. And you can trade up to some of those spots from 12 if you lose the play-in.
Are the OKC Thunder going to be play-in bound this season? How will SGA and the rest of the young Thunder core continue to progress this year? You're going to have us covered for all of that and more over at Locked On Thunder. Rylan, I appreciate you stopping by Locked On NBA with me.
Thanks for having me.